everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to this year's energetic forecast, where I look into the energies of the year 2024. So, what is the energetic potential? What is there in the numerology, in the link with the tarot? What is already present? What can we work with? How can we go with the flow of the energies of this year? What are some of the main concepts that we need to bear in mind? Some of the things we need to think of, some of the potential for expansion and for growth and for success this year as well, so that we can flow with the energy of the year instead of going against the current. So before we start, I will start off by saying that the 1st of January, of course, is not a clear-cut entrance into a different energy. So there's a period of time where the energy of last year and the energy of this year bleed into each other. This is the first days of the year, very clearly. So there's the Epiphany on the 6th of January, which is a powerful moment where we really step into a new energy. But then this bleeding into each other of energies kind of happens until the start of February. In Celtic tradition, this is the moment of Imbolc. This is really when it's the time for rebirth, and a renewed energy is born out of us and out of the earth and out of nature. And in the Chinese year, it's the 10th of February this year that we enter into a new energy. So those are really key moments that we really shift and tip into the energy of this year. So there's a bit of an in-between for a little while. So I'd say for at least a couple of days, and then that goes on for a month or so. So let's look into the energies of last year as well, knowing this. So last year was a number 7 year. Last year was a year of alchemical marriage, because the number 7 represents the bridal chamber. So in the ancient temples of Babylon, of Sumeria, the 7th level of the temple was the highest level of initiation. Only the high priest or the high priestess would have access to that chamber. And what would happen in that chamber were sacred rites of Hieros Gamos, the sacred marriage, a symbolical marriage between the divine feminine and the divine masculine, but between all polarities of the being. So this is what last year was about marrying those polarities within us, this sacred alchemical marriage of opposites within us, or complements actually. And because it was a number 7 year, this is what happened collectively. So we went through a transformation. A number 7 year is always a choice point year, because it's a year where really the spiritual self merges with the material self and with the physical self. So it's really a year where we see very clearly if our actions in this world, if how we hold ourselves in this world, if the decisions we've made over the past cycle, so the past 7 years, are aligned to who we feel we are and who we know we are, to our soul and to our soul path. And we make some choices in number 7 years. Usually some big events happen. And so at the start of this year, we might be feeling a little bit vulnerable. So it's important as well to give us this time of transition. A lot has been stripped away over the past year. A lot of old beliefs, a lot of old patterns, a lot of really parts and chunks of the self that no longer serve us. So we feel a bit bare, we feel a bit raw and new. And this year, the number 8 year, will be about really strengthening this new self. So it's like with everything that we've let go of this past year, this number 7 year, 2023, we're walking into the new year as a new being. And this new being is still a little bit uncertain or unsure about how it will be received in the world. So we're testing this new self. This new self is testing the waters by going out into the world. In the image of the number 8 as well, we can see the swirls. The number 8 is a balancing number. We can see that there's this back and forth between the inner self and the exterior and the outer world. And it's really about finding that balance point about who we are, what we want to express, and how to weave that into a harmonious and coherent thing with a whole, with a collective as well. So it's between the balance between our personal selves and the collective, and how we weave that new being, that new self into the collective. How do we express ourselves? How do we want to express this new awareness that has emerged over the past year? But even though there might be a bit of back and forth between still a little bit of the old self and the new, there are things that have really dropped away and that we won't be able to get back to. There has been a break. Last year, there has been a break with the past, and this year we're really stepping into something new. Compassion, consideration is a big energy this year as well. We're learning about compassion. So as our new self is finding footing into the world, how do we give expression to all these new beliefs, all these new energies that we're aware of that inhabit us, without hurting the people around us? So being in a number 8 year, if we look at the shape of the number 8, then we can see that this year is as well about the balance between the physical self and the spiritual self, between our material lives and our spiritual lives. So the theme of last year continues. But while last year it was all about inner work and seeing where our inner structures and beliefs couldn't hold the new self or the full potential of ourself anymore, this year is really about how do we relate from this new state of being, from our new beliefs and our new selves to the external world. So it's about finding this balance. It's all about relating this year, actually. Relating, connecting, forging connections that are harmonious, that support this new sense and self. And it's about compassion. It's about the energy of the heart. It's this loop, this feedback cycle between ourselves and what surrounds us, the surrounding world, the collective. So the energy of the heart will be also essential and capital this year. So in that sense as well, we will always be aware of what is happening in the world and what is happening within us, and finding a balance between our nurturing our inner garden and also being mindful of the collective. So compassion is a big one this year. We have to be aware of what is happening in the world. We have to show compassion. We have to feel what is happening in the world around us. I think one of the big illusions that fell away last year is the illusion of being able to extract ourselves from the world and live our lives peacefully while the world is in turmoil or while people are suffering in other places of the world. And this is a very old ancient belief in a lot of spiritual currents as well. This belief, and it's an illusion, the belief of self-mastery, in the sense where we can reach a state of enlightenment where we extract ourselves from the suffering of the whole, and we kind of escape. We escape the matrix, we escape the suffering, and we can stop or halt our relating to the outside world and to how other people are feeling. In a way, we sever ourselves from our connections of compassion and empathy. And of course, this is a strange idea if we know that we're in an inner connected world, that everything is connected to everything else, that we are constantly in this number 8, in this feedback loop with every other point in existence. Then this doesn't make any sense. If we know, and we know in our hearts, we know in our bodies, we know in our cells, in our souls, that the universe has been birthed from love and not from the mind, then it doesn't make sense to extract ourselves from the collective, to extract ourselves out of community, and it actually doesn't exist. Even if we reach higher levels of awareness, higher levels of enlightenment, if our being becomes lighter, if we ascend within the self, if we ascend within the tree of life within the self, it's not a leaving the matrix. What will transform is our connection to suffering, how we relate to suffering, our ability to take some distance from our personal suffering. But actually what will happen is that we will feel more, we will be more tuned into what happens in the collective. And I think this is something This is an awareness that is starting to dawn on people, and it's one of the big mistakes in a lot of spiritual beliefs. And this is crumbling, this is falling away, and it is painful for a lot of people because it represented this escape route. It represented this way to lift ourselves out of the collective suffering. But actually, it's also very healing, because what it's giving birth to is this awareness that we all rise together or we don't rise at all. That we lift the collective and we lift people around us, or we are not lifted at all. And it's really in the image of the bodhisattva, the teaching of the bodhisattvas. They ascended and they reached a state of enlightenment, but they were still aware of the suffering of the world. And a true enlightened being would always have the purpose of lifting the collective, to ease the suffering of the world and ease the suffering of the collective. It's never only just an individual lineage, an individual purpose. So that's an important shift in the collective beliefs and in the collective awareness that I think we will see effects of in this coming year as well. But again, this comes with a message of warning. It's about balance. So we are aware of the heartache, of the suffering in the world, and we do our best to ease that suffering. We take action towards that as well. And we also tend to our inner garden. We nurture ourselves with meaningful relationships, with beauty, with abundance, so that we can nourish our inner space as well, and that we nourish the world and that we nourish the collective from a cup that is full and not from an empty cup. So the idea is not that we ourselves are dragged down by the suffering of the world, but that we can be aware of it, hold space for it, help where we can, and at the same time also celebrate the joys of our life, celebrate the successes of our life, to really maintain the balance and to hold space also for a paradigm of more joy and more abundance. So the number 8 also invokes the 8-sided alchemical chamber. It's the octagon. The shape of the octagon is squaring the circle. So squaring the circle means trying to find a balance and harmony between seeming opposites. And I think this has really started last year already. What I've started to see in the collective is that instead of being very polar opposites, there's a new and a different voice emerging in humanity, and a voice that really chooses a path based in love. I have heard so many people over the past year say that they choose love, that they choose to be compassionate towards all the parties and all the people suffering, and that they don't want to pick sides. And this is something that is new, I feel. It's really a historical change in the mindset, in the psyche, and in the collective of humanity, which is really positive. So how do we square the circle from the heart? By connecting into the heart space, by widening our circle of love. Love as an active energy, like we choose to act from love. We make our choices from love. We choose to speak from love. We choose to widen the circle of compassion and of love in the world. So a year of a lot of transformation, and especially in the collective, I feel, because of the number 8 being the shape of an alchemical laboratory, but it's also the 8-sided star of Inanna, the 8-sided star of Ishtar, who represent the goddess Venus. So Venusian energy will be very powerful as well this year. What this means is that if we act in alignment with the energy of the mother goddess, which is compassion, acting out of compassion, acting for the greater good, then we will really be aligned with the energy of the year, and we will be able to contribute something of value, something of worth to the world, to the collective, and also to our personal lives. And this brings us to the tarot card of this year. In the Marseille tarot, the card of this year is the card of Lady Justice. And Lady Justice holds the scales in one hand and a sword in the other hand. What this means is that it's the sword of alignment, it's the sword of divine justice. So people will get their just dues this year. What this means is that for some people, it's a karmic return, which means that we are sorting some karmic issues, but also that if we have acted out of alignment in the past, then we will see some kind of consequence of that this year. In the collective, what this will represent is that people in positions of power, or people who have a lot of admiration and who are out of integrity, who have been out of integrity over the past couple of years, will really fall from their pedestal. And on the other hand, other people will be redeemed, like people who have been unjustly accused of something, people who have not been receiving their worth, who have not been compensated for the work they have been doing, people who have been disadvantaged in situations and unjustly so, will see a balancing of the scales, will see a just return for their efforts, for their work, and especially for their energy of truth and their energy of integrity this year. So the sword is really the energy of alignment to truth, alignment to integrity, really aligning to the soul's truth and speaking, acting, deciding from that truth. So this is really not the year to make decisions out of some imbalanced fear or the need to be seen, the need to be recognized, but really ask ourselves, what is the gift that I carry within myself, and how can I translate this gift into the world in a way that it will serve the collective and that it will serve the higher good of all? This is really the key question. So we need to keep asking ourselves over this next year, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Again, alignment with Lady Justice and alignment with the Divine Mother. What would the Divine Mother do in this situation? How would she react? How would she hold space for this? How would she bring more beauty, more nurturing energy and presence into the world? And especially with the energy of the scales, so Libra energy, in every decision, we're also aware of how our choices will impact others. So are the choices that I am making having a negative impact on the people around me and on the wider collective? Or are the choices that I am making having a positive impact on the people around me and the wider collective? This is an important point for all our choices this year. Are they aligned to the highest good of ourselves and the highest good of all? Always the balance. Always be aware of the feedback cycle between ourselves and the collective. And then on the 10th of February, in the Chinese astrology and the Chinese calendar, we start the year of the Wood Dragon. And the Wood Dragon is a very auspicious energy. It's an auspicious energy for creativity, for abundance, for innovation, starting new projects. And it's really an energy that supports all that we've said before. People that are change makers, people that really inject something new into the collective, new ideas, new ways of relating together, of working together, of being together, something that is positive for the collective and that is creative, that is inspired. So it's not a year to play it safe either. It's a year to be ambitious. It's a year to be adventurous. It's a year to be optimistic and really hold a positive vision for the future of humanity and align your choices with that positive vision, not make choices from your fears. So if we bring all of that together, all the numerology, the astrology, and the energy of the year, then it is a year to be ambitious. It is a year of growth. It is a year of expansion. If we keep in mind that we are expanding because our personal expansion will also serve the expansion of the collective. Again, aware of the feedback loop, we act from compassion, we act from a space of love, we act in integrity. Integrity is a key word this year. We resonate with Lady Justice. So this is a year for truth seekers, for warriors of the divine, warriors of justice, people who are really aligned to serving justice for all, to the higher good, people who want to change the collective in a positive way, who want to hold space for a new paradigm, a new world of more harmony and more compassion and more love. People who are aware of the fact that our divine intrinsic nature is always to want to relieve the suffering of the world and the suffering of the collective, and to inject more joy and beauty and abundance and love into the collective binding tissue in the image and following the example of the Divine Mother. So some of the energies that then can support us doing this, or that can anchor these energies for the year, well, we have the octagon as the alchemical chamber of transformation, as what will hold space for our transformation, our coming out into the world, the coming out of our new selves with our new beliefs and our new energetic structure. There's the eight-sided star, the star of the Mother Goddess, Inanna, Ishtar, Venus, the Venusian energy of this, and the energy that this symbol brings through is the capacity to create and to act from a space of beauty, compassion, and love. Owl is the totem animal of this year, or one of the animals, but it's a powerful ally because it's the animal of the goddess Ishtar, but also of Athena. Again, the Lady Justice as well. The owl allows us to really perceive what is true and what is untrue. The owl sees in the dark, so it sees beyond the surface of things into the depths of what is really there and what is really meant, and what is the real intention behind some ideas, some projects that are launched into the collective. And then the patron saints, I'd say, of this year, of course, we have the goddess Venus, we have the Lady Justice. Then there is Mary Magdalene as well. Mary Magdalene, who is a keeper of truth, who is a guardian of our inner alignment, who carries the flaming sword of truth, so the energy of fire. And then Saint Catherine of Siena is a patron saint, I feel, as well, of this year, because she represents this energy of truth. So she acted from alignment with the divine. She was very inspired by the divine, but she took action in the world around her. She took political action to actually change things. So it's this flaming sword of truth. It's this warrior of justice energy, but not for an egoic need to be seen or to rebel against something, but from a real impulse of compassion and love to bring the alignment of truth into the collective tissue. So with all of that said, I wish you a beautiful new year cycle, and may you really walk in your own truth. May you walk in integrity, and may you enjoy bringing this new sense of self into the world and presenting yourself again to the collective in your new awareness, in your new beliefs. And may we all find joy in making this collective creation that we're all in more beautiful, more harmonious, and more loving.